to ask you, as we're starting, I'd like to ask you a question. And I'm going to ask you to please write in the chat an answer to this question. What do you already know about college application essays? Now, I'm talking specifically about application essays in the US because that is where I am based and that's where my area of expertise is. I do work with students who are applying to colleges and universities around the world, but the US is very strange in that it actually wants some sort of insight into who you are beyond what you've accomplished. We aren't going to debate the value of that today, but I want to know, put in the chat, what is one thing that you know about college essays? And if you say, I know nothing and that's why I'm here, then put one question you have about college application essays. So I'm going to give you a moment to please write that in the chat. I encourage you to participate. And you can write 2 words, you can write a paragraph. What do you already know about college essays? Or what question do you have about college application essays? And I know how to be a good teacher and be quiet so that everyone will feel a little uneasy and write something in the chat. Okay. If you're just joining us, my question that I'm asking folks to put in the chat is one thing you know about college admission essays or one question you have about application essays. Good. I see a few coming in. Excellent.
Susan, I hope it's okay that I'm participating too.
Please. Absolutely. I welcome your participation. Good. And yeah, if you don't know, please write that. I don't know. I'm here to learn. I know nothing. That's okay. Question you have or something you already know. Something someone told you, something you read, something you're not sure if it's true. That's okay. I won't hold it against you. What I'm trying to do here is get a sense of who's in the room. Because if I'm telling you things you already know, I want to back off on that a little bit, or I want to emphasize the things that you're right about. If there are questions you have, I want to make sure that I answer them today. So let's look at some of these responses. So first I have here, it is more about you as a person than academic specifically or what program you want to study. Absolutely true. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, about how I know that and how you can use that to your advantage. They do care about what you want to study if they ask. Many schools will ask. They have what we call a why us question or why this major question, or you're doing a direct admit into a business program or an engineering program or a specific major, which is becoming more common. But what I'm talking about today is mostly the common application personal statement, which is a who are you kind of an essay. The University of California has personal insight questions. The answer is in the name of the essays, personal insight. They're looking into more who you are beyond what you've accomplished. Next, I believe that universities in the US try to understand the candidate holistically through their questions, the student's academic background, their stories, and their passions. Great. So the word passions, I'm really glad you brought that up. Actually, this is excellent. You don't have to have a passion. Just so you know, if you have one, you can write about it. One of the myths is that you have to have something that you are so committed to and you must share it. If you have one, you can. If you don't, it's okay. Those students get to go to top universities as well. And I think that is one of the myths is that you have to be super dedicated to something. So it's not that you shouldn't share that, but I would want to assure you all that sort of one of the hidden secrets of writing college essays is you don't have to. You don't have to have climbed a mountain. You don't have to have started a company. You don't have to have loved rock climbing since you were 7. It's okay. But I'm really glad you brought that up. Good. It should reflect you and your eligibility for college. Well, your eligibility is evident in most of the application. Applications, again, I'm really glad you brought that up because it should reflect you. Eligibility is really in the rest of the application. Schools are very good at measuring what you've done. Remember, these are colleges, universities. You are all talking about research of various types, measuring things. How do you measure things? How many, how deep, how far, right? How many of a certain type of class? Are you in an IB curriculum, an AP curriculum? Are you in a different kind of curriculum? Where are you located? What country are you in? Did your parents go to university? What kind of grades have you gotten? What percentile are you in your class? Did you take a SAT or an ACT? Have you taken other tests? Those are things they can measure. And this is something I'm going to tell you. This is something that a lot of really high achieving students sometimes miss right from the beginning. Your list, your application list is just as important as what you put in the application. I'm going to say that again. Your list of colleges you apply to, your eligibility, your appropriateness for a particular school is based on a lot of factors. The essay is not going to vault you over the wall. If you're qualified for Yale by the numbers, by the quantitative measures, you should apply there. But if you're not qualified and you think that by writing great college essays, they're going to say, oh my God, I can't believe it. We should take this student. Chances are good they're not. But if you have an excellent list of schools you are qualified for, whether they're the top schools in the country or the medium schools in the country or a few of each, your essays can help you. So they're important. They're extremely important. I mean, this is what I do. I'm going to tell you more about myself in a couple minutes, but they're not going to make up for other things. So make sure you're qualified for the schools you want to apply to and then go from there. Let's see. I really appreciate though that you brought this up because see, whatever you say, I have something to answer, and I appreciate you bringing these things up because I want to make sure that you leave here today with much more grounding in the reality of how essays work, what they do, why you're writing them. That will give you an advantage. That will give you a big advantage. Next, it should reflect who you are, your character, and your personality more than your extracurriculars. Right on. Yes. They're looking for who are you beyond what you've done. Now, there's a place for extracurriculars. There's a whole section for activities, and they want to know that. They're very interested in that. But you already have that. Doesn't mean you can't write about an activity you're involved in. You can, but the purpose of writing about that activity could be to demonstrate something about yourself, about who you are. The fact that you play tennis or lacrosse, or you're on the chess team, or you started a small company, those are accomplishments. You can write about them. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't write about sports or don't write about this or don't. It's not true. It's how you handle it. Um, Not much. I want to know as much as possible. Absolutely. We're here for that. They want a reflection of yourself as a person. Yes, for sure. They're looking at, like I said, and I'll say this over and over and over today. Application essays are about who you are. A lot of the rest of the application is about what you've done. So what you've done matters. It's all over the place. That's what they want to know. This is the only thing they have that will help them understand who you are. There could be 6 people, even in our group today, who have done research in chemistry of some sort. And that's great. And one of you has loved chemistry since you were tiny. One of you thought you were going to do something related to literature, and you decided to try something new. One of you decided that because your sister is pre-med, you want to learn more about science. You are 3 different people. One of you will decide, I'm not even doing this. I'm applying for this program and I've decided to go to horseback riding camp instead. But all of you have an interest in chemistry, or some of you will actually do research in that area. The fact that you're doing the research is hugely important. They care about that, and that's good. But writing about your experience could demonstrate your tenacity or your resilience or your ability to problem solve or how hard you work. Maybe you never did anything this hard before, and now you are doing something that challenges you because you've always been good at everything. Maybe you've never felt like you were successful, and now all of a sudden you're doing great things and you're feeling good about yourself. Those are 2 totally different experiences, and writing about them can demonstrate who you are. That's what they're looking for. It should be a story only you can tell, something like your actual voice. Great. So this is a really good point. It should be a story only you can tell, but that's because it happened to you, not because it is a thing that never happened to anyone else. You don't have to be unique. You can be a normal student doing normal things. You can be the top student in your school, and there's a top student in every other school. So all of a sudden you're not unique anymore. You may be unique in your world. Maybe you're the brightest kid in your entire area. You're it. Everybody knows you. You excel at everything. There's somebody else like you in another area, in another country, in another state, which is really important to keep in mind. It's not that you're not special, and it's not that the story you tell could be told by someone else, but saying that it's your story does not mean that it's an experience that no one else has ever had. And there's a very fine line. I was at a conference, two conferences the last few weeks, and I had a lot of admissions officers in the audience. I was talking about AI and college essays. And I said to them, remind me again, because I've been asking this question now for 17 years, what do you want me to tell my students? Tell me what you want me to tell my students. And they were from all types of universities you've heard of and universities you've never heard of. There was a college there I'd never heard of, and I thought I knew every college in the United States. And they said, will you tell them to please answer the question and be authentic? And I said, okay, authentic. What do you mean by that? And they said, well, I just want to hear their voice. I just want to hear who they are. Really, that's it. They're trying to get to know you. So, yeah, something like your actual voice, not just like your actual voice, your actual voice. I'm going to show you a couple of writing exercises that are going to help you recognize your voice, who you are. What do you sound like when you're not trying so hard? Oh, we got a long question. Is applying test optional a disadvantage or applying with stellar grades from your country is enough? I'm from the UK. Where do you draw the line for too personal or it's all about phrasing and relevancy? Very good question. So, applying test optional, if I could answer that question, is a disadvantage? If you have good scores, my advice is to share them. I am not the test prep expert. I know a lot of test prep experts. I'm going to give you all my email address. And if you have more questions after this, if I can't answer them, I will find someone who can. My company is Wow Writing Workshop. I'll put that up on the screen. My email is susan@wowwritingworkshop.com. You are welcome. So that kind of a question, I would say what I have been told by people who know is if you have strong scores, you should share them. Should you not share them if they're not that strong? Or is that a disadvantage? There are many layers to that question, depending on where you're applying and what else you have on your application. And if you want to know more, I can direct you to someone who can give you better advice on that. Um, is applying with stellar grades from your country enough? Sometimes it depends. No, you say, where do you draw the line for too personal? Okay, here are my questions for is it too personal? First of all, do you understand who you're talking to? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. I have some slides for you. I'm going to show you some things. Second question about being too personal. Is it something you can reflect on, or are you experiencing it right now? And number three, can you take editorial feedback on it? If I ask you to revise a sentence and it's a very personal topic, are you going to fight me on that? If you're not ready for it, then write it in a journal. I'm a writer and a writing teacher. I want you to write. I care about that. One more question. I'm aiming for Stanford or MIT for computer science or engineering. Is not winning a national or international competition a disadvantage in your application, or is a local competition good but not seen as impressive? Because I have passion projects, but I'm not sure if these are enough. You are enough. I'm going to leave it at that. I don't know you personally, but I understand the profile, and I'm sure a lot of you fit in this category saying, I love something, I am really passionate about something, and no, I have not won the national award. Yeah, you can still go to Stanford or MIT, but here's what you need to understand about Stanford, MIT, all the Ivies, the top whatever next. I'm located in the Midwest in the United States in Michigan. So the University of Michigan is our state flagship school. It is also a school that students come to from all over the world. It's an impossible math problem to get in. Some of you are the smartest math kid in your school. It's a math problem. A lot of people are qualified. Winning the national award is not necessarily the thing that's going to set you apart from the students who won the local award. They got a lot of choices. They get to pick from a lot of qualified people. And it is a math problem. There are too many applicants for not enough seats. And as they become more selective, fewer and fewer, the same number of seats becomes a smaller percentage of the whole. So is there a thing that's going to help you slip through? If there was a thing, I would tell you what it was, I promise. But essays can help. So let's go to my slides. I'm going to share my screen. And if you have more questions, put them in the chat as we go. I will either answer them as we go along or at the end. Okay. College essay secrets. What are we talking about here? Well, let's see. That's my team. That's me in the top. Those are my three coaches who work with me. While Writing Workshop is based in the United States. This is our 17th season. I am a writer and a writing teacher. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Michigan. I have a Master of Fine Arts degree from Vermont College of Fine Arts. I am a poet, an essay writer. I have been a writing teacher for 30 years. It's something that I love. And we developed a 10-step process for writing application essays. Now, a little more about my background. I have been an instructional designer for many years. And what that means is that I know how people learn and I know how to teach things so that people can do them without me. My goal in this world, in this college application world where I focus on college essays, is making sure that as many students as possible have good and accurate information. My former business partner, she retired last year, is a journalist. And we said from the very beginning, we are not telling anyone anything that, well, we just kind of heard it. We're making sure we're accurate. We are always accurate. And I'm going to show you some quotes from folks at top universities because that's where we get our information. I will talk to anyone from any college. I am doing a session next week for admissions officers on how to run a college essay workshop and how to review essays when you're in a school. So we're the experts. We're the ones that people come to. We're the ones that school counselors come to. We're the ones that independent consultants come to. We're the ones that writing tutors come to. We do a lot of training. So one of the ways that we get accurate information out is we train our colleagues. So we have a training program for professionals. I tell you this because you can believe me. What I am telling you today is based in fact. I'm not making this stuff up. I didn't dream of it. We got real information from real sources, and we have taken thousands of students through our process ourselves, and other thousands of students have gone through our process with their counselors, their consultants, their tutors, their teachers. So, and I'm going to share some resources with you as we go today. These three lovely faces on the bottom, these are my coaches. They are also in other cities in the US. We work with students all over the world. We are based in the US, like I said, but our process doesn't require a lot of meetings. And so it is not hard for us to work for folks who are not necessarily in our time zone. And we're very proud of the work we do, and we love it. We love it. We're writers, we're teachers, we care about students, and we do good work. We're really, really happy about it. You might see a dog walk by behind me at some point. I'm in my home office, but you might not. So she might make an appearance. If she does, her name is Luna. All right, let's go on. So, what is a college essay? You've alluded to some of this in your questions, and we talked about it a little bit. It is your story told in your voice and your words. Do not let anyone tell you what to write. I know that's hard to believe. Do not let anyone tell you that your voice isn't good enough. The voice you already have is the voice that you should be writing in. And your words. This is really hard for a lot of students to believe. Well, I need someone to edit it. I need AI to edit it. Like, do not do that. I'm not opposed to AI. I'm a big fan, but we're going to talk a little bit about how it may or may not be your friend in this case. Your story told in your voice and your words. And if you are not a native English speaker, or if your English is exceptional, but your English writing still sounds like the country you're from, that is just fine. I'm going to say it again. That is just fine. You don't need to sound like you grew up in Detroit, Michigan, like I did. That is not necessary. Your readers know where you're from. They know what kind of school you go to. They know a lot of things about you. I'm not saying to be sloppy. I'm not saying not to have somebody read it. But to think that you need to sound like a student who is from another place is not accurate. That's a total myth. So a secret for you is sound like you. Actually sound like you. Whatever that is okay. So you can grab this now. I'll show you again later. We wrote a book, How to Write an Effective College Application Essay. It's an ebook. It's also available in a paperback, but most people want the ebook. It's free. I wrote this with my partner, Kim, before she retired. We use the word effective on purpose, and that's a word I want you to remember. Not how to write a gorgeous college essay, not how to write the perfect college essay, not how to write a college essay that'll get you into an Ivy League school. Those titles would have gotten us better attention. But like I said, we're accurate. And what you need is an effective college application essay. A college application essay has a job to do. Let it do its job. So I said I'm a professional writer. Before I did this, I worked in other kinds of settings. I did training programs for thousands of people at Ford Motor Company, at General Motors. I did large programs where I would create the program and then I had to give it to other people to deliver around the US. So I learned how to write instructions for things that other people can do. Why is that important now? Because I want to give you tips that you can use. You want to work with me, cool, call me, we'll figure it out. But that's not my purpose here. My purpose here is to give you tips and information that you can actually use. That I'm not just going to tell you what, I'm going to show you how. And in our book, that's what we talk about. One of the other jobs I did, I was a speechwriter for executives at General Motors for many years. So I can write in other people's voices. I did it for a decade. I'm good at it. I'm not going to write in your voice, and nobody should write in your voice. In fact, my partner used to tell a story where when her daughter was young, she said, I can write like Sarah. I'm gonna practice. I'm gonna do it just to see. So she wrote a paragraph in her daughter's voice. Kim was a professional writer. She also had written speeches and done lots of marketing materials. And her daughter looked at it and said, Mom, this doesn't sound like me. This sounds like you trying to sound like me. Even a professional, I can sound like an adult, a different adult, because I have samples of their writing and I can sit with them and talk to them. That's appropriate. But I would never, ever, ever do that for a student, and you should never let anyone do it for you. So, how to write an effective college application essay? Effective is the word, and I'm going to help you understand what makes an effective college application essay. So, here's some myths. We're going to dispel them one by one by one. Nobody reads them. Colleges are looking for specific traits. Essays should be polished. Impressive topics stand out. Don't write about fill in the blank. Sports, religion, race, mental health, service trips, da 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 da. Not true. We've addressed some of these already in some of your questions. We're going to go a little deeper. So first, admissions officers don't read them. From the University of Michigan, we read each writing opportunity. We want to put it in context with what we see academically. We want it to be specific, different, something we can't find elsewhere on your application. So what does that mean to be specific and different? Specific means tell me a story. Tell me something specific. Give me an example. Different does not mean, like I said, if you are on the tennis team and it's on your application, you can't write about something that happened during a tennis tournament, except your purpose is not to share the fact that you're a tennis champion. It's to share something about who you are, something that happened. Myth number 2, excuse me. Colleges look for specific traits. From Cornell University. I don't have something specific in mind when I review essays. I don't know what I want to read. But I do want you to reflect to the best of your ability in your answer to any prompt so I can get to know you a little better as I review your application. There are some folks who will tell you, here are a list of the traits that you need to share. Show leadership, show intellectual curiosity, show this, show this, show this. It's not true. It's not true. You can show curiosity. You can show tenacity. You can show that you're a hard worker. It doesn't matter. You actually can show any quality you want, because what I have found is if you focus on one positive characteristic, other positive characteristics will naturally come through in your story. In our method, my purpose is to make this not so hard for you. Because when I lower the heat and lower the stakes, My students write stronger essays. They're not trying so hard. Their voices come through. They relax. It's a hard thing to tell you, right? You want to go to top universities. You don't want to settle for second best. You're smart. You're ambitious. You've done amazing things. I know who I'm talking to. So I'm not saying lower your standards. I'm saying lower the heat. Think about it. When you're relaxed, you can do better. I bet I have some athletes here. If you're tense, you can't play as well. I bet I have some of you are probably doing debate and Model UN and other things where you need to be able to think really quickly. If you're relaxed, I mean, relaxed doesn't mean you're not nervous. It doesn't mean you're not prepared. It doesn't mean you're not at the top of your game. But when you're a little bit relaxed and you can get into that state, you can do better. And that's what I want for you. Because in my experience, my students who go to the kind of schools that you want to go to, why are their essays better? Because they're not trying so hard, because they are qualified. I can help them revise their essays to make them stronger. But you need to start out with an effective topic and a focus on who you are rather than thinking about the finished product from the beginning. Next myth, essays should be polished. From Duke University. You are a high school senior and you should sound like one. Not your mom, not your dad, not your English teacher, and certainly not one of the most revered writers of all time. I wish I saw more of a thoughtful voice of a 17-year-old. They are tired of reading super polished stuff. They know that most high school students who are applying to college are not professional writers. Now, if you're a writer, if you're applying to go to, an English program and you want to be a writer, you want to be an English major, you want to do the social sciences, you're really good at expressing yourself. I'm not saying you should dumb it down. Sound like you. But I'll tell you, I have students who were creative writing majors in college, and I look back at their essays and they still sounded like 17-year-olds. They just sounded like articulate 17-year-olds. They sounded like themselves. And that's okay. And I have students who went to engineering schools, top engineering schools all over the US. And some of them are extraordinarily articulate and write beautifully. And some of them write simple sentence, simple sentence, simple sentence, simple sentence. And they're still doing engineering at MIT. So the polish is not what's going to make the difference. Being yourself is what will make the difference. In fact, with the advent of all the AI tools that are out there, whether you're just using Claude to help you write your essay or using one of the college essay tools that are now out there, I just spoke to the founders at one of their companies yesterday. The AI is not going to make the difference for you. And in fact, it will make you sound flat in a lot, not always, but the risk is we think the machine is so quick and so impressive that it's going to make us sound better. So, tell you a story. This wasn't me. This was one of my coaches who I showed you, was working with this lovely young woman, very qualified, top schools, very responsible, came to her meetings, did her homework, great kid. I'm going to show you our process in a minute. Step 5 is writing your first draft. So he had a lot of her writing from steps 1 through 4. We have a 10-step process. Step 5 was her first draft. Lovely first draft. Did a great job. Excellent. Step 7 is a second draft. He looks at the second draft. He says, doesn't sound like the first draft. That's interesting. So he asked her the question that we always ask, that we have asked for years and years. Who helped you with this? We're going to have to start saying who or what helped you with this. He said, so who helped you with this? And she said, oh, and she was very enthusiastic and like very forthcoming. She said, well, I wrote my draft and then I put it into ChatGPT and said, make this better. And look what it did. And he said, can you show me the original that you put into the chatbot? So she showed him and he said, hey, let me show you something. And he picked out sentences and sections. And he said, look, it's different, but it's not better. It doesn't sound like you anymore. And they looked at it together and she was really like, she saw it. She didn't realize it. She just thought this is a cool tool. It can make it better. It can polish it. It can improve it. He said, it's not bad. It's just that I have an example of what you sounded like before, and this doesn't sound like you anymore. Interesting. So I think that's going to be happening more and more. And you can combat it by not doing that. I know it's hard, it's tempting, but just be careful. Next myth. Impressive topics that stand out. So you've heard me say a little bit about this also. Johns Hopkins. The essay does not have to be about something huge or some life-changing event. Students think they need a monumental experience, but the essay can be about something small. One of my best, most favorite essays from years ago was about a young man who was on a bike ride with his brother. Why did it work? Well, what happened? They were together on this bike ride. They had a little bit of trouble. He was able to solve a problem while they were out together. And why does it matter? What did he show? He showed that he was cool under pressure. He showed that he was confident. His brother was much older, and he'd always felt like, in the shadow of his amazing older brother. Why do I like that essay so much? Because it demonstrated something meaningful about the student. He was a problem solver. He was cool under pressure. That was true about him. And he illustrated it in a small story. I also had two students, brother and sister, a year apart. Student number one, the family was extremely wealthy and had a lot of access to cool things to do and places to go. They had climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. Not everybody gets to do that. That's a big deal. And the first one, the brother, when we're talking, what do you want to write about? He says, my family went on this amazing trip. We climbed Mount Kilimanjaro last summer. And he's going on and on. I said, that's amazing. But he's not telling me about himself. He's telling me about this great trip, which sounds fabulous. I mean, thanks, mom and dad. That's incredible. And I said, so what do you want to write about? He said, well, I didn't make it to the summit. He's just talking. I'm just curious. I said, well, what happened? Well, I have asthma and I couldn't breathe. So we were at a certain spot, and I just, for a couple of days, I kept trying and I couldn't do it. It was really disappointing. But we climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. It was really cool. I said, so tell me, what do I learn about you, except that your parents have the means to take you on an amazing trip and you get to see the world, which is exciting. And he got stuck. I said, if you want to talk about not summiting, now it sounds like your parents are not, are putting you in danger, which I'm sure they did not mean to do. So I'm not sure it's going to work. So he understood because we had talked a lot about what makes a strong college essay. And he decided to write about something completely different. I mean, not on the mountain, not big, something small. The next year, his sister comes. She wants to write about climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. I said, well, tell me about your experience. Now she starts telling me they were with another family. And her friend, her peer from the other family, was struggling. And she was the fastest and most fit and had the greatest lung capacity and da 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 da. And she could have made it to the summit first. But instead, she stayed back with her friend and she encouraged him and she took breaks with him and she helped him make it to the summit with her. And they were not first. That was a story about her and about her character and what kind of person she is. It meant that it showed us that she puts other people ahead of her if it's important. It showed us that she is supportive. It showed us that she doesn't need her ego to be the only thing that matters. She didn't need the prize. Combined with the rest of her application, she was very qualified for top schools. That helped us understand who she was and why. Because what I say to my students all the time is, if this could have happened in your grandmother's backyard, would it have been just as good a story? In her case, yes. If it had been a mountain or a hill or a trail in her city, it would have been just as good a story. The fact that it happened in an impressive place is not what made it so strong. Next myth, don't write about sports, religion, race, mental health, service trips, da 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 da. Any topic can be effective. What really matters? The process. I'm going to show you a process in a moment. Having a plan and keeping to a schedule, getting it done. So this is the WOW method. If you go to my website, you'll see a link that you can download it if you want it. You'll see it in the book. I want to show you that, and I'm going to give you we're going to try a couple things together in a moment. Step number one is to understand the prompt. Here's a secret for you. Everybody skips step one. Everybody skips step one. That's what's one of our secrets. That is part of our magic. Most people start with step two, brainstorming ideas. Right here. Most people start here. I'm telling you, this will help you stand out. Make sure you understand the prompt. Most people start with step two, brainstorming ideas. They skip all the way to step five, and then they do sort of a mashup starting here at the end. Why? Because they think the topic is what matters most, and they think that the writing, the editorial, is also equally important. I am telling you that I said, when I ask admissions reps, what do they want me to tell my students? Tell them to answer the question. So what we do is we make sure that they understand the question. We make sure that they understand the question first. And that is a huge, huge, I'm telling you, it is a huge advantage to you if you make sure that you understand the prompt. So how do you understand it? How do you make sure that you understand it? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. Let's get rid of all these marks. So let's turn off annotating. There we go. I see that we have another question here. Um, ah, so I got a private message from someone and I see that, yes, I think that schools will see you in a very positive light. If you want to talk more about that, we can talk another time. So I said process, plan, and schedule. I just showed you the process, the plan. Where are you applying? What does your summer look like when you're applying? If you're a younger student now and you're just thinking about this is not quite as relevant, but you really need to think about how are you going to get this job done? And finally, a schedule. This is a sample of our schedule. We use a very firm schedule with our students. We tell them exactly what they're going to do, how long it's going to take, and how to do it. We have an online system. We have every step has a video. It has a web page with a lesson. It has a writing exercise. Our students move through this process in about 4 weeks for the Common App personal statement, and then about 4 weeks per school, like overlapping weeks. Why do I tell you this? Because when we sign up a student, we tell them, and I want you to tell yourself this when you get to this process, momentum is your friend. Don't start and think about it, put it away for a couple weeks, and then start again, and then show it to your sister, and then kind of think, well, maybe I have a better idea. You're going to spend 3 months writing one essay. This can be done in 4 weeks. I've been doing it this way forever. It works with highly motivated students. It works with unmotivated students. It works with the brightest kids I've ever met in my life. It works with students with learning disabilities because momentum is your friend. When you decide you're going to do this, start it and finish it. And if you get stuck in the middle, that's not a college essay problem, that's anxiety. And I have solutions for that too. So let me give you a little taste of this. How does it work? The green is content. Content first. So when you write your first draft, and you can do this yourself, and this is in our book as well, the content is all that matters. You don't need a beautiful first line. You don't need to make everything perfect. You don't need to make sure you can spell well at the beginning. It doesn't matter. Content is what matters. Content is really what matters. So step one, like I said, is to understand the prompt. What does that mean? In fact, I would say understand the prompt and purpose. How does an essay fit into the application? What do readers already know about you? List your accomplishments. Write them down. And what else do you want them to know about you? Those are characteristics. This is how we check for understanding with our students. We have a writing exercise where, like I said, there's a 30-second video. They read a web page with a lesson. And then we have a writing exercise. And the writing exercise has 3 parts, has 3 questions. What's the purpose of the Common App personal statement? I mean, we've told them over and over and over. What do readers already know about you? I have these grades. I took the SAT. This is my score. This is the kind of work I have. I took, a gap year, whatever it is. They already know that. It's okay. Remind yourself, put it in writing. And then next, what else do I wish they knew about me? They can't tell from my application this, and this. Well, good, write it down. And I don't mean that your favorite flavor is chocolate. I mean, what kind of person are you? That's understand the prompt. That makes a huge difference. I have seen it over and over and over. I told you that we train our professional colleagues. When I teach them this, it transforms their practice. It transforms how they do counseling. They said it never occurred to me. I just assumed the students knew. And I say, if you just ask them this question, they're going to tell you the purpose of the college essay is to show how unique I am. The purpose of the college essay is to have me write something that no one's ever done before. There's a lot of misconceptions out there. There's a lot of bad information. And so I was talking to this really delightful young man yesterday who has a really cool app that's for kids who've been admitted to college and very interesting stuff. Okay, recent graduate of a top business school. And we're talking about content for his social media. And he needs some college essay related content. He said, well, mostly we have just AI slop that we put out there. So I'm telling you, he knows it's garbage. He's using it to get attention on purpose. He knows what he's doing. His partner's a computer science brilliant guy. They know what they're doing. They'll use anything, even though they know it's kind of not, it's kind of junk. So you are consuming that. And you're assuming it's true because you see a lot of it. I am telling you, most of what you're going to see, and there's going to be more and more and more and more of it, is not true. It's repeating untrue things, and it's really hard to tell the difference. So you need to know the source of your information and understanding the prompt, making sure you really understand. And I also mean the questions that go below it or any question that's in a supplemental essay or the UC personal insight questions. Do not start writing until you confirm that you know what the prompt means and you've confirmed it with a reliable source. Here's the Common App personal statement. This is what the essay is about. The essay demonstrates your ability to write clearly and concisely on a selected topic and helps you distinguish yourself in your own voice. What do you want the readers of your application to know about you, apart from courses, grades, and test scores? Choose the option that best helps you answer that question and write an essay of no more than 650 words using the prompt to inspire and structure your response. That's the prompt you need to understand. Now, there are then 7 options. The yellow highlight here is what happened. That's what they're asking. And the blue is, well, why does it matter? We use those terms, what happened, why does it matter, to help our students focus. So let's just look at prompt number 1. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent, something that happened or that is true in their life, that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. Share a story. A background, an identity, an interest, or a talent. Equally valuable. Doesn't matter. Background, I am from a family of such and such. Identity, I am this race, religion, gender, anything, doesn't matter. Interest, I love butterflies. I'm fascinated by biology. I like to dance. A talent, I'm a great singer. I'm brilliant at physics. I can teach anybody to tie their shoes. I love to, I'm talented on a unicycle. It doesn't matter. All of those things are equal. What they're looking for here, what you need to understand is these prompts are doors and windows that help you answer the question, what do you want readers to know about you beyond grades and scores? So look at one other one. Number 2, the lessons we take from obstacles we encounter can be fundamental to later success. So they want to know about the obstacle and they want to know about later success. Both things. Recount a time, up here it said story, here it says a time. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. A challenge, something was challenging, it was difficult. A setback, I was moving forward and then I got set back. Or a failure, I did something, it totally bombed. Anything is okay. A small challenge. My dad told me I couldn't stay out past midnight. That's a challenge. My friends have a later curfew. I wasn't able to go to the whatever show with them because it was 30 minutes away, and by the time it ended, I wasn't going to be home by my curfew. A setback. I was making great progress in my sourdough baking attempts, and then my starter failed and I forgot to feed it and it died on me and I had to throw it away. A failure. I've been trying to build my own AI chatbot and it just totally bombed. It's not working. I have to throw the whole thing away and start again. Equally valuable to write about. They don't care which one. So we do this, we show this. I show this to you on purpose. I want you to understand that what they're looking for in an idea is first start with a story, an anchor story, a small moment. The moment my student was on his bike with his brother, the moment my other student was sitting down on the side of the trail with her friend and not moving up to the top of that mountain. My other student who was helping his father rebuild a hot tub. Another student who was trying to raise money for a nonprofit that she started. The day that she went to her mother's office and talked to everyone in the office and asked them to donate. That's a moment. That's an anchor story. It doesn't have to be the whole essay, but it's something to hold on to and figure out the characteristics you want to share, some details, and think of several possibilities. Because what you're going to do once you choose that topic, and this is a good conversation to have with someone else. This is the one meeting that we have with our students. Our coaches have a method that they use in a brainstorm discussion where they discuss all the ideas that their student has. They come up with like 4 ideas that have all of those elements, and they help them focus in on the one that'll work. And how do they know? Because it has a story that's relatively recent. Don't write about when you were 12. Write about closer to your application time. I mean, it doesn't have to be last Tuesday, but it should be high school-ish. You can have context of something that happened when you were 12. You can include it as background, but you want to write about something relatively recent. And you want to make sure that it illustrates a positive characteristic. So my story, the brother and sister who both climbed the mountain together, perfect example. Her story illustrated positive characteristics. His story really was a challenge that he didn't overcome. And it didn't, I said, so did that make you do something different later? I thought maybe it's that, maybe it's that prompt. No, he was just disappointed. I said, well, I'm glad you got to see the beautiful mountain and have a cool experience with your family. You don't have to write about it in your college essay. Theme, what happened? That anchor story? And why does it matter? What do I learn about you? So I'm going to show you this again, right? That's the green. That's all content. You get the content solid, the rest of it, oh, whoa, go back. You get the content solid, the rest of it is not hard. Because structure is how am I going to move through this? Am I missing something? Maybe you describe the room you're in and it's a gorgeous description and you ask someone to read it for structure and they say, "Well, this is a nice room, but like why is half the essay the description of this room?" Oh, wow, I didn't notice that. Okay, let's cut that in half. Those are structure comments. How do you start the essay? How do you end the essay? But see, that's after the content is solid. And finally, at the end, we're looking at polish. Spelling, grammar, like I said, if English is not your first language, that's where we make sure that your verb tenses match and you're using the right articles. Like I can tell you, depending on what part of the world someone is from, like these are the English writing mistakes they're going to make. I know what they are. I can help them correct them, but I'm not going to edit the voice out of the essay. And that's important for you to remember too. Not all help is equal. Know who you're getting help from and what qualifies them to give you help. And if they're not qualified to give you help, then you tell them what kind of feedback you're looking for. In a content structure polish review at the end, that is not the time for someone to tell you, I really don't think you should write about that day. I don't think that's a good topic for you. No, that's a content discussion. By the time you get to the end, you're not looking for that kind of feedback because you're confident about what you've written so far. So these are the do's and don'ts. The not so secret secrets. 1, follow the instructions, answer the question, answer the prompt. Write about yourself, show reflection, be authentic, be real. This is not a time to put on a mask. Highlight positive traits, write your own essay, and use your own voice and words. They are good enough. They got you where you are. Why are you a top student? Because you're smart, because you're focused, because you're dedicated. All those things are true. Believe them when you're writing these essays. The not so secret secrets, the don'ts, don't focus on someone else. It is easy to suddenly the essay is about that amazing grandfather you have who invented something and how you worked with him, but the essay suddenly is about him. No, essay's about you. Don't emphasize accomplishments. Well, I will say to someone, sports, so here's a common one. Don't write about sports. And I say, so is the essay about the sport? Well, I tore my ACL and I couldn't play football for a whole year. And it was so painful. But then when I came back, I got the winning goal. And I say, cool. If you hadn't gotten the winning goal, would it still be a good story? If the answer is yes, I want to know, what did you do in that year when you couldn't play? If the only reason it's a good story is because you came back and you were a winner, that's impressive. That's amazing. Good for you. Pat on the back. But that's not a college essay. That's about accomplishments. And this is about characteristics. Don't write what you think colleges want. Follow a process that will take you through so that you have an authentic and effective college essay. Don't plagiarize, don't rely on AI. And what I mean by that is the same thing I say about sample essays. I'm not saying you can't use AI, that I am not that foolish. But think about whether you're solving a problem or creating a new problem. That's a whole other session. I can do a whole hour on that. But just be careful. Know why you need another tool other than human beings and your own brain. Don't believe everything you hear. I have emphasized that over and over. Some of it's great, some of it's terrible. Don't rely on spell check to be, or Grammarly, as impressive as they are, to be your writing companion or to find everything. Make sure that you read carefully and ask someone who knows to read carefully. I actually last week figured out how to turn off the grammar suggestions in my Gmail. It was driving me insane. Why? It's email. I don't need to sound polished all the time. I'm a professional writer. It was giving me suggestions. I'm like, well, some of those are good. It was just distracting me. And I thought, if I was 16 years old and I was getting those suggestions, I'd probably take them all because I would think that they were smarter than me. Your voice is fine. Your voice can be informal. It's okay. It's really okay. I think we're all learning right now. We're sort of in the messy middle of a way of figuring out how to use AI and how it can be helpful and how it can be just another thing in the way. But we'll all get there together. So again, here's a QR code for the book. I encourage you to grab a copy. And I'm going to go back there for just a minute here. I will be here for a few more minutes. I'd love to answer more questions if you either want to raise your hand and speak, or you would like to put more questions in the chat. I would be more than happy to answer them. I can stick around for about 5 more minutes. And if you have no questions, we can sit here quietly for the rest of our time together. I'll tell you a question that I get frequently now is just a general, how can I stand out? Which I think I've addressed in different ways, but I'd like to focus on that directly. If you have other questions, please put them. What's the best time to ask for your help? Anytime. Send me a message. I'll put my email in the chat. And so I'll tell you what happens. We get a lot of students very early, like now is relatively early. Families call us now and say, can I sign up for my student to work with you in July? And I say, sure, I'll reserve a spot. We will work with about 100 of our colleagues' students. So independent educational consultants hire us to work with their students. I tell you this because it's related to your question. Their early registration period is in April. They will grab the best spots. So what I tell students and families is if you want your choice of the best time, whether that's July for you or September, call me before May 1st and I will slot you in there before they grab all the best seats for their students. Um, we take students throughout the year. I mean, families call me in August and we work with them, of course. But we do have this whole early registration period, and by May 1st, a lot of our summer seats will be full. And the reason I say that they'll be full and we don't just add them on top is those three smiling faces you saw, my coaches. I don't want to overburden them. I want them to spend time and focus on their students. When you're our student, you are of utmost importance. Those 4 weeks, those belong to you. Or those 3 months when you're working on schools, those belong to you. And I want people to understand. I tell families this too. I say, you are buying time, you are reserving time, one-on-one attention, and I will not load up my coaches with too many students because even though they're following a process and they can do a lot of this quickly, they need to pay attention. So that's, do you take individual international students? Absolutely. We work with students all over the world. And we work in different time zones. We work with kids who, speak different languages. We don't speak the other languages. You need to be able to speak and write in English, of course. But yes, we do work with individual international students. Yes. Question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so one of my questions is just when a student comes to you with a draft of their essay that they would like to submit to a college application,
Mhm.
to what extent are you involved in editing the essay? Are you involved at all in editing the essay? And how do you ensure that the editing doesn't take away from, the tone that they are
Mhm.
really emphasizing on?
Such a good question. So when you say you, do you mean me personally or us, like the big you, the
Yeah, the
everyone?
team,
Okay.
the
Such a good
wow
question.
team.
When someone brings us an essay, in fact, we have a whole version of our first couple of steps for what if, and this is something we teach to our colleagues too, what if someone brings you an essay, brings it's already written? We go back to the beginning. So here's what we do with a student who brings us an essay. We say, this is great. Thanks for bringing this. I want to make sure you understand the purpose of an application essay before we student and us, makes any decisions about whether this essay works or not. Because I don't know what assumptions they have. So what we do is we're not taking them back and saying start again. Maybe the essay is great, but I can't tell even if the essay is well written or sounds good if they really understood the purpose of the essay before they chose this topic and wrote this draft. So we take them back to the beginning and we say, I just want to give you a lesson on what, the step one, understand the prompt. What's the essay for? Why are you writing it? Who's reading it? Do you know all this? What do they already know about you? What would you like them to know about you? Based on that, and then I take them through the step two exercise. And not, these things don't take very long. This is like an hour to do all of this. I say, I want you to do this not because I'm doubting your essay, but I want us together to decide whether this is what we're going to use going forward. And so then I say, I want you to come up with four possibilities, do our exercise again. They watch a brief video, they read a page, they look at extended descriptions of each of those the seven prompts that go with the Common App. And I say, I want you to read our interpretation. There's like many paragraphs here. Does your essay, if you've answered one of these questions, did you hit all the points? Then I say, I want you to come up with four ideas that fit this idea of, give me an anchor story, a characteristic, a few details, including what's in your essay already, of course. And then we're going to talk. And here's what happens next. They either say, yep, got it, perfect, this exactly, I'm glad that you checked with me, this works. Or they say, oh man, I didn't know that. No, even though I just spent 3 weeks on this, no, 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 no. It's been their decision. Or, and this is very common, they say, oh, I get it. Yes, I do want to include this, but I want to go in a different direction. Can you help me go there? And that's often what happens. We had a student, he wrote about in the US, going to summer camp is a big thing. This kid had gone to summer camp many, many years. He wrote a whole essay about how much he loved summer camp and he went back as a counselor and whatever. And it was lovely, but it was like an advertisement for the camp. I didn't get a lot about him. I've read this essay 73,000 times. It took him through this exercise and he said, "Oh, actually, there was a camper who was having a problem, who was homesick and wasn't getting a lot of mail from home. And because I remembered being what it was like to be 11 years old and be at camp and be away from home, I was able to help him. And I was able to go to like the leadership of the camp and say, can you call this parent? Because the student is not getting any mail and he's really sad." So anyway, he solved a problem. So he still wrote about camp. He wanted to write about camp, but we were able to teach him how to think about the essay in a different way. So he chose to move forward. And that's what I like to see. I don't want to tell anyone this works or doesn't. Once we get to the later stages, all of our feedback is in terms of questions and comments. I noticed this. I wonder this. We're not rewriting sentences. We do not rewrite student sentences. We will point out you have a lot of run-on sentences, or you're using a lot of semicolons and you're not using them right. Here's how you use them. Find me some examples of this. Let's go through these together. We can do that. We're writing teachers. We can do writing lessons, but we are not editors. And this is also something we teach our counselor colleagues. We are coaches. We're not on the field. We're not playing the game. We're teaching and we're observing and we're cheering our students on. But I'm not going to revise a student's essay for them. It is tempting. I am a very good editor. I'm a really good editor. I know it. I'm good at it. But I'm not going to edit your work. I'm going to help you make editorial decisions. And that's one of the things we teach a lot also. We talk to students about often. I will give you, if you give me 4 ideas, I'm going to help you see that only 2 of them have potential to be effective. But then I'm going to ask you, which one do you want? And you're going to say to me, well, which one do you think is best? And I'm going to say, I think both of them are best. And I don't think the other 2 will work, which is why I'm only giving you these 2 to choose from. And I want you to pick because your choices matter. And there's students who don't take our editorial advice. And I say, well, good for you. You knew what you wanted. You don't like my comments. Okay, don't take them. I mean, not all of them. Or I've misinterpreted. I think they're going in a certain direction. So my suggestions are pointing them in that direction. They say, no, 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 that's not what I wanted. Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about it. Um, so thanks for asking that. We have a question here. Based on your experience with AOs, what is their view on students, especially international students, using AI to polish their language in the essays, assuming the content structure, etc., are authentic? They don't like it. They don't like it. It is something they're struggling with right now, that they are working on figuring out, because they know that international students generally sound something like their native language, and that is normal. That is completely normal. So I'm not saying to be sloppy. I'm saying that it doesn't need to be polished. And I think this is going to become an issue. I keep my eyes and ears open on this kind of thing, and I'm listening and I'm watching and I'm paying attention. And this is one of the questions that I will be asking AOs over the next year is, so what about international students? They're worried about their English, and they're worried about, that their English writing does not reflect their ability as English speakers and the depth of their ability as thinkers in any language. And is this okay? Do you want this? So far, the answer has been no. Um, it could change. I don't think it helps. Like I said, like with my student who had, the first draft that she put into, the second draft she put into a chat bot, it made it different. It didn't make it better. So for my students who are not native speakers, I say, and I've just said this 3 times today, they know where you're from. They're not going to hold it against you that your English writing may not be as fluent, that maybe your idiom is a little bit off. I mean, we try to catch that kind of thing because idioms are weird, or that you obviously use a thesaurus to find a synonym and that synonym is not the way you would use that word in that sentence. Can AI do that? Yeah. Can I do that? Yeah. Is it okay if you got it wrong a little bit? Yeah, that's okay too. One last question. Anything at all? We're all done. Excellent. I'm going to put my email in the chat again. That is our website, Wow Writing